Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the show where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. I'm your host, Parker Layrisson, and today I've got a terrific guest. This is one of my favorite people of my whole life. I've known her since she was a very little girl and I was a little boy, and our families go back many generations. And so it's been a real pleasure to see her grow up to be the best banker in the parish, according to the
Hold
readers
on.
of TG. Oh, look at that. Look at that way, Brandi. You have me already.
I did. The only bad thing is that you're a page before me.
Oh, we're back to back. I love it. Who would have ever thought when we were a couple of PHS, key clubbers running around this town with no sense, but a lot of energy that we would get here. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Before we get into your very successful career as a banker, just tell us a little bit about yourself, to get us started.
Well, Ponchatoula Live. I mean, I am Ponchatoula, just like you are. Parents born and raised. Family still owns a business in downtown. It's I grew up with my parents being involved with
Right.
so many community service organizations. My dad was a volunteer fire department. Didn't get paid, but I loved being a little girl, hearing the beeper going off. And if it was a good one that I could go with him, if it was an emergency that I could actually go to, he wouldn't let us go to the fires, but some of the stuff we would jump in the car and want
Mhm.
to see what was happening.
That
Um,
was when they had those giant red
the
pagers
big
that were
red
like a
beepers that were
brick.
like that big, and
Yeah.
they were loud. They would make the whole house vibrate.
We, even better would be, 1980s St. Joseph Church, 500 people or whatever, and all at once, 50 red beepers would go off, and Johnny B. Harris over here, and the Laurents over there, and whoever, they'd all be buzzing and beeping at the same time,
And
and
us
they
kids
give
loved it.
up.
We loved it. My dad was always like, "You can't go to the fires, but you
Right.
can go to some of the little emergencies." But I mean,
Hmm.
that was great. And he was in the KCs, the Kiwanis. My mom was in the American Legion. She dealt with the bereavement food ministry with at St. Joseph. So she was
Hmm.
always cooking for different funerals. I really didn't understand what it was. When we were little, running around the Strawberry Festival, she was volunteering in different booths when we were
Right.
able actually like to run around. Now we don't want our kids to do that anymore.
True, we're not helicopter parents, but you're right. And you say you are Ponchatoula. It doesn't get much more Ponchatoula than Daddy's in the Ponchatoula Fire Department, brother's now a strawberry farmer, and
Wow.
mama's a
Like,
Bates.
what is
Right?
that?
I mean, that's as Ponchatoula as it gets. So, what was childhood like? I mean, you mentioned kind of us running around, and I remember well going to your house. I'd go over there to run with the Perrins and the Bourgeois and your brother Trey. But, I did not at the time pay much attention to what life must be like for a little girl a couple years younger than us. So, what was life like for you growing up right there in the heart of Ponchatoula as a little
I
girl?
was a tomboy. I had no choice but to be one because I lived around a neighborhood with only boys. The girls were way older than me. And so I learned a lot of defense mechanisms, learned how to go in a creek and
Right.
catch caterpillars and climb trees. And, it was fun. Like, I had a great childhood. Parents were always involved in everything.
Right.
My parents are just awesome, like your parents. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Miss
get together
Brenda and Mr.
ever.
Johnny B are the best. And I don't know if you know this about them, but they are my very first clients. I mean, at this point, I've got gray in my beard and very little hair up top, and I've been doing this 20 something years. But when I first came back to Ponchatoula in 2002, they didn't even have a case. And I'm pulling up to get gas one day at the service station. And your mom kind of tugs me aside and she said, "Look, I want to be your client. You got any clients yet?" I said, "No, ma'am, Miss Brenda." She said, "Well, let me be the first." And they put their faith in me, long before it was probably common sense to do so, and before anybody else did. So I've always been very grateful to that. They didn't have a case yet, but they were clients, and that really meant a lot to me because, as you mentioned earlier or alluded to earlier, they were community leaders. I mean, they weren't just members of the Kiwanis Club and the American Legion and all these, but I mean, heck, there were awards named for your father and grandfather and and your mom. They were just a really big deal. So Salt of the earth.
They had me volunteering.
Hard as anybody, gut a catfish as quickly as they do anything else.
Oh my gosh.
But just great people.
Well, and they got me involved with the Special Olympics. I was volunteering at 10 years old.
Great cause.
Remember, I got the Key Club involved with the Special Olympics when we were in high school.
I do. When I was president of the Key Club 2 years ahead of you being a senior, you were our number one sweetheart. You had the most service hours. You really did a lot. And so, I remember that well. And it was such a fun, rewarding charitable organization to get involved with. And of course, with the headquarters in Hammond, it was kind of perfect for us. So it sounds to me like you just had a heart for service from day one, and it kind of came from your parents. Is that right?
Absolutely. And then Key Club, that really pushed me even harder to where when I graduated from high school, I couldn't stop. And it hasn't stopped. I did kind of take a little hiatus for a little minute because I had Gavin and I was concentrating on him, but now I'm involved with so many organizations that just fulfill my heart.
Yeah. Well, I want to share something with you because we have the ability for those that are watching us live to share comments with the group and with you. And so as you can see here, Marshall Graves, I think your classmate and our mutual good friend says that you're his girl and you are awesome people, Brandi. Just keep bringing that energy. Marshall, thank you for tuning in for the show. Of course, you've been a prior guest and just one of my best buds. And it's so neat to have you, chiming in here to your friend Brandi. For anybody else watching, know that if you want to share a comment like Marshall's done, feel free to post it below. And if we get a chance during the show here live, we'll recognize you and share it with Brandi. So we're here with Brandi Harris. We're kind of talking about growing up in Ponchatoula, the daughter of very prominent local folks, business owners, community leaders, and public servants at heart. Brandi, you mentioned, you go to high school, you get in the Key Club, and, it kind of lights this fire under you. You've been serving with your parents all along, but now you start to take a leadership role. What was it like? What was that next chapter like after PHS? Where'd you go and kind of how did you find yourself making your way into banking?
Well, I went to college, worked at the Royal Oak, and it just so happened that 3 or 4 doors down was American General Finance. And we all hung out with each other and saw each other because we worked in the same little plaza. And once I needed a job or was looking to better educate myself, never thought in my whole life that I would do banking or be in finance at all. It's not what my goals were to be. Didn't even take finance in college. But
well, what was your goal at the time? If not that, did you have some other passion?
Well, I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a social worker, and I knew I liked criminal justice and psychology.
Right.
But then my junior year, something happened, and I was like, I can't do this. And it was social work.
Can I guess? I'm gonna bet a social worker came in and you saw their pay stub and you said, "Oh, can't live
not even just that. No, I just saw graphic pictures of a baby, and I can do this." So I graduated in general studies, never took a finance class, started working at American General. So that really brought the core to me on like doing loans. It's credit. Of course, it's high risk credit and the interest rates are 36%, but I worked there for 4.5 years and learned the core of lending.
And it's a great start because although you're right, the rates are astronomical. It's a very different dynamic with high risk lending. But I know because one of my classmates and best friends and my, longtime banker when he was a banker, Chad Richard, started the same way.
Oh, I remember.
And it gave, and y'all kind of came up together within a year or two of each other. And, it provides a very unique lens. If you just kind of start on day one at, a big bank like you sitting in now with American flag and a big office building and all that, you don't really get the full perspective of what Tangipahoa Parish and local economies and local families are dealing with. Do you feel like it gave you a broader basis for your career to kind of start there?
Absolutely. It's so when Chad and I were back in the finance company days, we had, a certain end of the month percentage we had to make on delinquency. So if somebody wasn't paying us and answering the phone, we were knocking on their door. I mean, it was old school collecting, knocking on the door, getting checks to make payments. I mean, it was hardcore. And it was like you could not leave on the last day of the month without having all these payments in. And they always say you can take a finance company person and put them in a bank, but you can't put a banker in a finance company world because it's completely different. Now, the days of like knocking on doors don't really happen as much anymore. I mean, people have
Yeah.
cameras and, dogs and whatever. And I could tell you a whole lot of funny stories. That'll be another day. But, and
Well, you know what though, that part of the job sounds kind of like being a social worker, because I'm married to a social worker. She started her career in home services through MSD, and you hear a lot about the dogs, whether you're a home health nurse or whatever. But yeah, I bet it is a lot different than what you're used to now.
right now, somebody will just come and like shoot you, I mean, back then it wasn't that bad. And everybody's like, well, what are you doing? And it really just, it was a great way to learn loans, but it was also, I had to stop because, being in a small community, I was running into people that I was trying to collect bills on. I would run into them at the grocery store and they're ducking and weaving. And,
Yeah.
it just got to be too much. So I said, I've got to do something different. And then I happened
Yeah,
to have,
once your trip through Bonings gets awkward, you got to start looking for a new
thank
career.
you. You could be like hiding behind the bread.
Yeah.
So I was
So how's that
lucky to have
transition work to go
a
from finance to banking? What door opened first, and how did you find it?
So we were able to make connections. We would go to banks and get referrals. So if I had a really good customer that I could send to a bank, or the bank had someone a little bit higher risk they could send to me, we would make like switches. Well, I
Sure.
met the CEO and president of the first bank I worked for, and it was your bank. Remember, it was your bank, and then it was sold to Fidelity. That
Yeah.
was my first banking job, and that's where I truly started my first like my banking career. My
Yeah.
lending career has been going on for a lot longer.
That's neat. Your bank, as I recall, was kind of the first bank, of our era, but it was started right there in Ponchatoula. And it was so neat. It had all these great community leaders,
Yep.
basically a lot of friends of our parents, from Mark Griggs and Don Bankston and so on.
Frank
And
Valley.
it was kind of neat to see these guys who were then, middle aged and kind of in the peak of their career, try to start something new and keep up with kind of the big boys. And they put up a modest little building there on 51, and we're off to the races. So you were kind of the young talent they were hiring, right?
I
The
was
local
part of their
upstart.
marketing part, but I also brought loans in, sold stock for them. It was great, and I still have close ties with most of them.
Yeah. No, it's been neat. A lot of those guys are close personal friends of ours, and heck, a lot of them are still doing business in one variety or another. You pass a piece of property and you realize, oh, that's owned by 6 of the old 8 original Your Bank board members.
Right.
So the bank has come and gone and sold out to a bigger outfit. But
I got left right before that happened.
oh, neat. So where did you go next? What was the next bank
The
you went
next
to?
place was State Bank and Trust, which now they got bought out from Bank Plus after I left, and I was there for a good 7.5 years.
Wow.
And then Marion Kinchin, she called me while I was at State Bank and Trust. She wanted me to come work for her in mortgage, but I didn't really want to go in mortgage. But she said there was an opening, in the branch side, which is more me. And I met with Stan Dameron, and within 10 minutes, he's like, "You're hired."
That's the way you do when you mentioned Marion Kitchen, Stan Dameron. Those are some legends of local
Right.
banking.
Right.
I'm sure you learned a ton from them. I mean, what are the kind of lessons you learn as you go? Because I'm struck here that you've had the benefit of working for big names like them who have been in banking kind of forever, upstarts like our friends we mentioned who are kind of creating a bank on the fly, finance world. What are some lessons you learned in those early years of banking that have served you well and help you become the top voted banker in the parish today?
Well, you have to give people a chance, and we're so regulated, and with the FDIC and just auditors, and different legislatures, laws, and whatever. But you have
Right.
to give people a chance, which brings me now to the fact that in all my years of banking up until the last few years, once COVID hit, I've never had to like worry and do SBA loans. Well, when
Mhm.
COVID hit, our bank where I work now, American Bank, we did the PPP loans, which helped so many people. And
Absolutely,
um,
including my little law firm. I mean, that was crucial to keeping the doors open for a lot of us.
I worked many hours and I got many, many, many loan applications approved. And it was so awesome. It was definitely tiring because when the
Right.
world shuts down, business owners, they don't have business. So what
Hmm.
do? They call their banker. What's my next option? What can I do? Can we do deferments? Like I don't want to lose my business. And those PPP loans were just so beneficial to so many people.
Yeah,
And when we opened up
absolutely.
that second round, I mean, it was even better because you were able to help your Schedule C people, like in your fishermen, your crabbers, and
Hmm.
just your lawn service. I mean, it was so awesome. And so then the bank said, let's do SBA loans. So now I'm an SBA lender, and we've been number one for the last 3 years.
Well, let's talk about SBA loans in particular, the program, because I think a lot of people, struggle to understand the difference in different loan products, right? The conventional loan, some don't know the difference between that and a mortgage, and certainly not between, a conventional loan and SBA loan. So if you don't mind, for the folks like me that did not study finance or banking and don't understand it as well, would you just kind of, explain in broad strokes what the different type of loans are and why SBA is so critical to the local community?
Well, and
Business.
so you have your mortgage loans, which are Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac driven, where they offer that VA, FHA. That's your 30-year mortgages that you have a fixed term, fixed rate for the term of your loan. That's something I do not do. I can ask, one of my coworkers what they offer, but I am the conventional loans where it's if you're buying investment property or if you want to buy if you need a line of credit on your house to build a pool or um, we do SBA loans, and I'm still really green with SBA loans. I mean, there's 7 a.m. There's
It sounds like practicing law. You could be number one 3 years in a row, and you're still learning every day.
I can't. I mean, there's no way I can stay on top of it.
Right. Well,
You know,
and I think one thing people don't always understand is the law's always changing. So,
every
this may
single
be the federal law this week, the state law may change next week, and et cetera. It's really tough to stay on top of it.
well, and I mean, we're able to help new business owners, even current business owners. It's SBA is a really great product, and it helps so many people. And our bank, thank God, we have really, really smart people that are knowledgeable in the bank that I can call and say, hey, this is the scenario. What can I do?
Right.
You know,
Speaking of really great people and smart people that we can call on and that will be there for us, got a comment coming in from our buddy Mark Verbois. Mark, thank you for tuning in. Of course, we've been talking Key Club, so Mark's spidey sense must have kicked in and his ears perked up because he was there in the trenches with us. But Mark says that he loves you, Brandi, and the entire Harris family. You great people who are at the core of our community and the core of what makes it great. I wholeheartedly agree with that, Mark. How does that make you feel when somebody as prominent as Mark Verbois, who runs the Ponchatoula Area Recreation District, even bigger feather in his cap is he married a beautiful Brandi, so he knows his things about. He
I
knows a lot
know
about.
both of y'all
You
have brandies. Y'all are smart.
know, we do. Yeah, after going to school with you, that was our
I
life's
was the
mission to
first
go
brandy
find
for
one.
y'all, though.
But how does it make you feel when people that you must respect, as I know I do, say something like that about you? How does that hit you?
I will tell you, Parker, when I got the email that I was voted best banker, there's 1,000 bankers in Tangipahoa Parish.
Yeah,
I
and
don't win.
so, and some really great ones. I mean,
Right.
and that's an
They
industry
are.
that's stocked with a lot of talent.
And even to be a female to get it, and to be honest, I didn't even vote. I did not. And so I really thought that Eloise sent me, like, I thought it was spam. And I didn't even see the email to the next day. And I called her on her cell phone. I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey girl, did you spam me?" She was like, "Congratulations." And I'm extremely honored.
Yeah. Well, I love your humility, but you deserve it. You've been at this for a while and you work hard and you have as much energy and smarts as anybody in it. So, and
Well,
you definitely deserve it. Let's talk, if you don't mind, about uniquely what it's like to be a female in a traditionally male dominated industry. Bankers, lawyers, we're not that far apart professionally. And, I've got a small law firm. There's just five of us. And it's three men, two women attorneys, and then, staff of about six people supporting us. Traditionally, the staff has been overwhelmingly female. I think back to my mom. She was a legal secretary before I was even born nearly 50 years ago. So that was always the standard. But there weren't that many women in our industry until kind of my generation came along. But even there, a lot of women in my age class, so to speak, checked out along the way to become moms or downgrade their careers to something they can do from home. It seems to me from the cheap seats, and I'm just a guy who walks into the bank to beg for money and occasionally, drive through to make a deposit. But it seems to me like your industry is similar to mine in that it's taken a while for women to kind of kick down the door and get those corner offices. And so as I look at you winning awards, big office, American flag flying behind you in the background, literally as we speak, what's it been like to come up those ranks as a woman? And what are some of the unique things people might not understand?
it's been tough.
I bet.
It is, and it
How
still is.
so?
It still is. There's still customers and I've been here at this branch for 11 years, and there's still customers and the guys have, we've had different males in the lender position, I mean, we don't have really any presidents or anybody at our branch, our headquarters in Covington, but there are certain customers that want to speak to the guy. And it's frustrating, but you know what? It makes me
Sometimes our attorneys that are female get mistaken for secretaries, and it just fires them up so much. But I would imagine that happens
work
to y'all
harder.
too.
It makes me work harder. And I mean, look at like Lou Goodo. She is
Yeah.
the biggest female lender in
Hmm.
our area. And
Yeah.
she is impressive. If you could see
Absolutely.
her work, like she is good and so knowledgeable. And I would love to be her. I mean,
Well,
that's just,
if not, you're certainly well on your way. I mean, you're in the club. It's kind of like it's hard to tell sometimes. For example, who's the best quarterback in the NFL?
right.
Last week we might have thought it was Patrick Mahomes. Not this week. But you were definitely in that club with Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar Jackson and all the great. You're there, and that's cool. People recognize it, including Josh Poche, who just chimed in to say, Brandi, that you are a great person, a great friend, and they love you down there at the art studio at Mandy May Fine Art. Josh, like you, a community leader. He's on the Chamber of Commerce board. He and his wife are very prominent in our local economy. That's gotta feel good to see people like that kind of tuning in, not just to watch you on this show, but to comment and talk about the great things you're doing. What do you feel like is the next step and where you go? Because you talk about yourself, you talk about Lou Goodo. There's a humility to you, yet there's an ambition and there's a clear upward trajectory that friends like me have been watching for 20 plus years.
But after,
Where you are today, but where do you see yourself going in the future?
I hope I'm still here. What I do, making more money and helping people. I mean, my customers, I was so humbled by that I won this because it wasn't like a multiple choice. It was people voting for me.
Yeah,
And to just type my name in, that's awesome.
yeah,
But I answer my phone. If I can't, I'll text you. I try to get back with everybody. I try to do the best that I can to get the job done, and I'll fight for my customers.
hmm,
The worst part about it is turning somebody down. I hate to tell somebody I can't do
right.
it. You
Well, I
know,
know that my mom was briefly a banker when I was a kid. When we were at St. Joe, she went back to school and she got her MBA, and she got a job 3 blocks from the house at First Guarantee Bank as a mortgage lender. And I remember how sad she would come home. You know, we knew bank closed at 4, mom would be home at 4:02. You know, literally a 3 block commute. But some days she would come home crying. The tears wouldn't have even dried yet because somebody that she really fell in love with through the process was denied for their loan and couldn't get a home. And knowing you in your heart, it probably hits you like that too. How do you deal with that when there's something outside your control, a credit risk, you know, just whatever? How do you deal with that, and how do you handle that with the client or a customer that you kind of grow to love through the process?
I try and sit down and say, you know, if it was a credit reason, fix this, pay this
Mhm.
down. You know, if it's the debt to income, you know, I mean, there's just so different things, and sometimes, you know, my rates might be higher than somebody down the road. You know, and if I can't do it for them, then I can find somebody that can. You know,
Right.
I try to give them alternate avenues, but I just want people to trust me. And I
Yeah.
want them to know that, hey, I can come to you. And I mean, I have tons of customers that have had to send to other banks because they just had a better deal they
Yeah.
give them.
Well, I can tell you, being on the receiving end of that, you know, customers really appreciate that, and I think that's part of why you've been so successful. Is you've developed a reputation for that. You've mentioned several times throughout the course of this interview, you just want to help people. You are putting the interests of the customer ahead of yourself or your bank, even that you work for. And you know, I've only bought 2 homes in my life. 47 years old, I've done it twice in my 20s and like 2 years ago. But I remember well, like when I go to, like, say, shop 3 different mortgage rates with 3 different mortgage lenders, I had to tell 2 people bad news and 1 person good news that they had the deal. And the 2 of them handled the 2, say, losing bidders, if you would, handled it very differently. And one of them was a real jerk about it, in my estimation, you know. And it's kind of like, and I get it. None of us like to lose. We're competitive, and you know, we're trying to make money and support our families. But I made a note in that moment, like, if there ever comes a third house I'm buying, there's no way that person's getting a call, you know? And so I would imagine for you, tell me if this is true, you know, there may be somebody that you had to do that. You had to lose a deal 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever, but later another deal, perhaps probably a bigger deal as people get older and wealthier, and they came to you. And it's like they didn't stick with that low rate bank because they knew at one moment in time, this bank, which maybe gobbled up and resold twice between then and now, would come and go. But Brandi, the person they can trust to do right and put their interests first, is a constant. So have you seen that over the years where people
I've,
come back to you even though you
I've,
lost an earlier
I've
deal?
got, I've got customers that live in Ponchatoula that are people that you and I have been around for years, and they appreciate me saying I can't do it, and I'll send them to somebody else, but they always come back for me for the next deal. And I
Yeah.
also have customers that are willing to pay an extra percent just because they know that I'm going to handle them. I'm going to handle their business, everything. If they need a draw, if they need a transfer, if
Yeah.
they need to get locked, you know, they're locked out of their online banking, I'll fix
Yeah.
it. If their debit card doesn't work, even though I don't do that, I will fix it. They know
Yeah.
that they can depend on me, and they want a person they can call.
That's amazing. And I think that gets kind of lost in modern banking. You know, my parents are in there. You know, mom's not 80 yet, but dad is, and he's in his. And they talk all the time about kind of the good old days of banking. Of, you know, Elmer Krause a couple blocks away at Citizens National Bank. You just call him on the phone, and he'd take money from here to put it in there. And you know, you just having someone you know is so crucial. Long before ATMs and PIN codes and all that came along, and nowadays, there are almost no locally owned banks. I mean, I don't think there are any. I mean, I think the most local bank is owned in West Virginia. Um, but you know, it's so you know, the dream of having the owner across town is long gone. But we don't need that. We just need someone like you sitting in a critical role that we can call, and it's a human, not an AI, not a computer, and not some decision maker in a faraway state who's a bean counter, but a human that we know, like, and trust. And as I understand it, your bank, not your bank, the old bank you used to work for, but the bank you currently work for, American Bank, you know, y'all really strive for local type, leadership and approach. Is that right, or am I wrong about
Yes.
that?
I mean, we are still a community bank. We
Mm-hmm.
have 5 locations in Louisiana, and we appreciate the fact that we still do business the way it's always been done. And when
Yeah.
you call the Hammond number, you get Hammond people, unless for some reason our phones are turned off. But then you'll get somebody in Covington. You won't get someone with a crazy accent in India. I mean, you will literally get us.
Yeah.
And our customers appreciate that so much.
I
And
bet.
we know all of our customers by their names. I mean, we have no high turnover in like employment. I mean, and I'm one of the veterans here now. I mean, being here over 11 years, and Hammond, there's a couple people in loan ops that have been here longer than me, but downstairs, I mean, when you come, you love everyone.
Yeah.
They love you, and that just means so much.
Yeah, and I just think people, they crave that kind of sense of community and a business that still serves the community. And look, there's nothing wrong with having a Citibank location in Hammond. The more, the merrier. In the same way that I don't mind that Gordon whatever comes to town and opens up a shop, or McDonald. I worked at Hi-Ho through high school. You well remember, you did
I'm
too.
sorry, I worked with you.
You worked there too, and you'll remember well, there wasn't a McDonald's or Burger King when we started, but there was when we left. And those guys are going to sell their burgers, and that's fine. And we would lose some customers to them because some people don't care if they're getting a frozen patty or a fresh patty. But at the end of the day, a lot of people want to deal with locally owned, locally run, and it does make a difference. I want to bring up another, man, you're getting so many complimentary quotes. Amy Ball here, another well-known community leader, says that you are a banking beast. I love that. Tell me about that. I mean, Amy's a good friend of yours. What's it like to have a woman of her stature saying that about you?
It means a lot. I mean, Amy's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, and we work together at American General Finance. We started 2 weeks apart, and um, for her to trust me with her stuff, that's big. And the referral business that I get is astronomical because people know that if if they can't see me here, they can get me on my phone. You know,
Mhm.
um, and I just try to take care of people. It's in my nurture, it's in my nature. I
Yeah.
was born and raised like that, and I still enjoy doing it.
Well, I know your parents are proud of you. I see them around in the community, and then they should be. They're proud of you. They're proud of Trey. I mean, y'all are doing very different things in life, but making the Harris and Bates families proud by doing them really well. When you get to thinking about the future, you and I are both parents, and we're on that journey. But what is it important to you to share with that next generation so that they do as well as you and Johnny B and Brenda and all the great people that came before them? What are the most important lessons for you to kind of pass along down the way?
Number one, be a good human.
Amen.
No matter what, and I'm kind of known as like the fixer here, you know, um, and I stress this to my son who's 16. Don't blink because I know yours are what 6 and 8. Um,
Well,
don't
they were. They're now 7, and as of tomorrow 9. So you're right. It's
okay.
happening literally day by day around here.
Don't blink. Make good decisions. Be a good human. If someone comes at you, it's because they probably had a bad day and it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
Tell them I'll pray for you and walk away. And if they're nice, they may say I'm sorry, and that's just I do the best I can and make the best decisions I can. And I realize that being a good human trumps anything.
that's wonderful advice. So thank you for sharing that. Speaking of those kiddos, I promised I'd get you out of here at a decent hour so you could get back to your family. I know my kids are waiting on me to cook them dinner in the next room. So as we come to a close here, Brandi, it's been such a pleasure. We've only scratched the surface. I definitely want to invite you back another time when we can hit all the things we missed. But as we kind of come to a close, is there anything else on your mind, on your heart, just anything at all you want to share with our viewers and our listeners before we say goodbye?
Um, I mean, if you're looking for a new bank, please come see us. You can call me. I'm pretty much here most of the time.
Yeah, what if you wouldn't mind, tell us where to go, either website, phone number, etc. How can we contact you directly?
My direct line is 985-230-2321. And we are located in downtown Hammond by Zemery Park. I'm sorry, hold on one second.
Yeah, take your time.
It's 506 Southwest Railroad Avenue.
Okay.
And we're right by the big water tower in between the railroad tracks and Zemery Park.
Yeah.
We're
And look, guys, if you can't remember any of that, just check it out. Check out this month, Tangy Lifestyles. All of Brandi's details are right there. We're so proud of her. I didn't even notice we were in back-to-back pages. I'm really excited about that.
Thank you. You were the first one to tell me congratulations.
Well, when I thought I was so excited, I had to text you right away. But final comment here, our mutual mentor and dear friend of so many years, 30 plus for me at this point, Danny Williams, Dr. Danny Williams. He says he's so proud of Brandi Harris. Keep doing great things, and he's sending love your way. And I know you love Mr. Danny.
Absolutely.
We all have a special relationship with him. It goes on and on. And Brandi, it's just been such a treat. You know, when I think back to you in prep for today, I was trying to think, you know, I know, you know, I've known you forever, but it's like, well, do I have a first memory? I don't know about you to me, but I remember first meeting you at JC Park, which is literally like a block this way, you know, through this wall I'm looking at behind the camera. And, you know, it was little league baseball, Dixie youth baseball, Trey's playing in like the age group ahead of me.
You're cut off.
What's that? Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was there that night. Yes. That was my first conscious memory of you. And of course, you know, after that, all this, our families had camps down the South Pass and all that. You've always been there in my life in one place or another. But I didn't know if and I'm sorry to bring up a bad memory because that had to hurt. But that's a ways back. So if you're wondering how
funny, Artie Thompson, the other day, I saw him, and I don't know if I hit a finger or something, and he was like, I remember when you got your finger cut off. And I was like, oh my God.
We were all there. I mean, you know, in the summertime, that's where we ate dinner. It was like chili dog or frito pie. That was our choice for meal for the night. But it was good living in Ponchatoula. Well, thank you for sharing your time with us and your story. It's been a pleasure. And to our viewers and our listeners, thank you. We'll be back here next week. And for now, we'll just say goodbye.